Hi, I'm Antoine Fuqua, the director of The Guilty.
(911) emergency operator 625. What is the address of your emergency?
Hi, sweetie.
Sorry, you called 911.
One of my favorite scenes to film would probably be when Riley calls in, the actress. It's the first time she says, I want to talk, sweetie. While he's dealing with a woman that's obviously been kidnapped and is in danger, his phone is ringing and his little girl's on the phone. And he is trying to make a decision to talk to his little girl who he's very close to, but he's divorced. And at the same time, a reporter calls in.
This is Joe.
Joe, hey,
Yeah?
do you have time to answer a couple questions about tomorrow?
Who is this? Are you a journalist?
All this is kind of happening while he's dealing with a kidnapped woman that's coming. How do you desperately help someone that's in need? How do you have the discipline not to pick up the phone when your little girl, when you've been trying to call her all day, your ex-wife won't let you speak to her? And then you have a reporter calling you, wanting to know your side of a story of something you did wrong. To me, that's a complex scene. And in filming that scene, I had to restrain myself because there's a tendency to want to do a lot of things with the camera. The discipline for me was not to move the camera, to just be there with him and let the actor do it. I told Jake, I'm gonna stay wide for a lot of it, and then I'm just gonna march in closer, closer, closer to make the audience sort of have some distance from what's happening until she calls. And once she calls, I go really close. I think right in here, and you can see his eyes darting back and forth as he's trying to process what the woman's saying.
Who is that?
Yes, I understand.
Is there someone with you?
As he's trying to register in his brain visually what's happening to her, the audience starts to do the same. And it makes you lean in more to listen to what's being said. They're not in the room with me. They're on Zoom. They're in wherever world they're in, right? So they would call in. We had specific times, like 4 actors. We're going to do 20 minutes today. And I could see them in their homes and wherever they were. Jake could never see them. And so they would get their cue from me, and then they would go into their performance as he answered the call. But the actors that called in were amazing. Ethan Hawke and Peter Sarsgaard and Riley and Divine, and it's just like a blessing to have those kind of actors. Paul Dano, their performance makes Jake's performance better. Because if he doesn't believe them, we don't believe them. Most of us have been there before in some way where you can't get people to do what you want over the phone and you can't do anything about it. An emotional person like Joe, who doesn't really do this, he's a street cop, is not used to that rhythm. He doesn't know how to deal with all these emotions.
Fuck me? Fuck you, go to hell. Yeah, fuck you.
And he's expecting everybody to move when he wants them to move and get helicopters in the air and do all these things. And that's just not the way it works. So that builds tension. It's frustrating a bit as a director because of, you're a slave to the technology. So if the Zoom glitches, which it did, if someone down the street is making noise in New York City while someone's doing their side of things, you can't control any of that. Glitches happening. So anything that you were feeling, especially Jake, would wind up on the screen. He would get his own voice in his ear. And he would just sometimes just, I can't, it's driving me crazy. And I would keep the camera rolling. And he would kind of get back into it again. And some of that's in the cut because it was real. Yeah, I always use lighting as another character. The city itself is a character, The first shot of the sunset with LA on fire, for me, is Dante's Inferno, and it sets up an urgency. The lighting on the inside, when we first meet Joe, it's daytime. It's sort of a soft glow light, sort of like purgatory. It's a non-lighting. It sort of just floats there, right? Later, as it gets darker, when you see the Alka-Seltzer glass, when he comes from calling his daughter, it's darker when he goes back in. So subconsciously, when you see that way towards the blinds, it's now darker than what you saw before. But at the same time, the subject matter is getting darker because she's now called in.
911, emergency operator 625. What is the address of your emergency?
And every time an audience sees the red light, like red is violence, that it just feels urgent. So those big close-ups with a red light was to make you feel that urgency. When he goes into the other room, that whole room is dark, except for the little pin light, because his character is getting darker, right? The beginning of the movie, when he's in the bathroom, it's all white because it's the beginning of purgatory. You're in the clouds. He's not quite anywhere, but he's suffering. When he goes back in the bathroom, he's kind of green. The concept, it's like a snake just getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. And we're watching a man dying, right? Because he's guilty and he's hiding it, but it's coming out of his body and he's coughing and he's like, it's starting to ooze out of him. He can't escape it. If you look at him there, he's very sweaty and he looks pale and a little green. He looks like death. I had a list of things I was going to possibly shoot to take you into some of the worlds that you're hearing. And then when I cut it together, it would completely go against what the film is. The audience imagination is way stronger than anything that I designed to shoot. People created that story. I learned to trust that more, trust an audience imagination more. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Thank you for watching The Guilty, only on Netflix.